one of the key ways in which we know that this is about race is that in this moment, black families are holding their sons and daughters closer to them with such a sense that in this moment, this verdict, a verdict which may be the appropriate verdict given the evidence presented to these 6 people and the decision they made based on Florida law, nonetheless feels very much as though it is saying it is acceptable, it is okay to kill an unarmed African-American child who has committed no crime.
All right, folks, welcome back. That's Melissa Harris Perry on MSNBC saying, while though the verdict may be the correct verdict under Florida law, she feels the way she feels, and her feelings speak for a segment of our population. Joining us now is Dr. Boyce Watkins, a finance professor at Syracuse University, founder of the Your Black World Coalition. Doctor, I'm glad you accepted our invitation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, thank you. Okay. You have, if I'm reading correctly, you have expressed extreme disappointment with the verdict, and you said there's no logical reason that any court other than a racist one could come up with a not guilty verdict. Explain that.
Well, I think that very clearly the circumstances say that Trayvon Martin wasn't doing anything wrong. There's a history there where George Zimmerman has, he's even called 911 on a 7-year-old black kid. He pursued him without being told to do so. He was told not to do that. So basically what this verdict says is that, at least according to this situation, if you want to get away with murder, you carry a gun, find someone that you want to kill, chase them down, start a fight, and if you lose the fight, kill them, and just make sure that there are no witnesses, and you're going to be acquitted. I mean, that's effectively what we were fed from this verdict, and it's incredibly disappointing.
All right, so the black Hispanic woman, as she's been called on the jury, she's a racist?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to know. She's a racist. Okay, wait. Okay.
I mean, she could be.
Oh, she could be. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. But obviously she went along with the other racist white women. So you say he was told not to follow. Well, he was told not to follow after he was asked to let me know what else he does, which was the testimony in the court from the 311 operator who conceded that based on that instruction, it might be conceivable that George Zimmerman might have felt he was being told to follow. When he was told we don't need you to do that, he said okay, and according to Zimmerman, stopped following and was headed back to the car. You say he started the fight. How on earth would you know that, sir?
Well, because Trayvon Martin didn't start a fight with him. He didn't chase him down. He didn't.
No. Who started the fight, sir? Who started the fight? Who threw the first punch?
The person. It's not. The fight wasn't started by the person who threw the first punch. The fight was started by the person who identified another person that he wanted to stop.
No. That's not against the law, sir. I've done that. I've called 911 when there's a suspicious-looking person. That's not starting a fight.
But did you grab a gun and go chase the person down to find out what they were doing? Did you do that?
I'll tell you exactly what I did. I'll tell you exactly what I did. I live in a townhouse complex, and there was a strange car parked 2 driveways over from me with a man sitting in the car sleeping. I didn't recognize the man. I called 911 because I don't have a 311 like George Zimmerman did, and the police officer said, okay, what's the license plate? Now, I was back in my house. I said, you want me to go back out and look at the license plate? So I went back out. Now, what if the guy got out of his car and said, what are you doing here, and then slugs me? And if I had a gun and I wound up having to defend myself and shoot, you'd say it's because I called 911 because I profiled that this man was wrong or didn't belong there, that I'm responsible for it?
There's nothing wrong with calling 911. My dad's a cop. I respect good law.
So what did he do wrong? What did he do wrong?
What he did wrong was he stalked Trayvon Martin and followed him with a weapon, with a loaded weapon, and
which is legal. Which is legal.
It's not legal.
Sir, it is legal.
Let me scratch that. It might be legal to do that, but it's not legal to then stalk that person, create an altercation, and then kill that person.
Time out.
I think that
who created? How did he create?
If that were your child and he was walking unarmed,
that's a different aspect.
I think you'd have a very different perception of it.
Yes, I would have the perception of a grieving parent, and my heart breaks for the grieving parent. But that doesn't change the fate of George Zimmerman, or the fact that he did nothing illegal that was provable beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. And for you to say that it was only a racist court could come up with that, I'm waiting on the evidence. Even Melissa Harris Perry said there was no evidence.
Remember, there's plenty of evidence that the judicial system is racist.
I'm not talking about the judicial system, sir. I'm talking. No.
Quite relevant to this.
No, I'm talking about this case. I want to know where the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt was presented in your mind that shows that George Zimmerman was guilty.
Well, I think that your evidence to say that he's not guilty is
not what I'm asking you, sir.
Probably more faulty. We know that Trayvon Martin did Trayvon Martin cause his own death? Is that what you're trying to imply?
If Trayvon Martin started a fight, then could I answer that? I'll answer your question. If Trayvon Martin started a fight and pounded Zimmerman's head and broke his nose and gave Zimmerman the impression that he was in severe bodily danger or danger of death, then George Zimmerman, under the law, had a right to do what I would do, and I assume you would do, and that's save my own life and shoot. So if that's my answer to your question, sir.
And I think that your presumptions are not based on logic.
Really? Okay, what presumption? Wait, let's take it one at a time. What presumption that I just said, which was all evidence presented in court, do you take issue with?
Well, you're effectively saying that if someone has a weapon and they see
No, I just asked you a question. You gave me a presumption, sir.
Because
sir, I presented you with evidence, and you're saying my presumption.
That's not evidence.
No?
You're saying what if Trayvon did this to him?
Well, he did, sir. Trayvon Martin.
You don't know. You do not know, Steve, what happened during that fight. All you know is that Zimmerman had a gun. And the 17-year-old kid who was
No. We're talking to Dr. Boyce Watkins, a finance professor at Syracuse University, founder of the Your Black World Coalition here on the Steve Malzberg Show. No, sir, we know that there were no wounds on Trayvon Martin except the gunshot, the fatal gunshot. We know that George Zimmerman had a broken nose and was bleeding, could have had a concussion. We know this from expert medical testimony. And you're telling me I don't know anything, like I'm making this up.
Well, see, the thing that you're forgetting, though, is that if Zimmerman had not brought a gun and had not...
But, sir, you can't do that. And you know what? And let me tell you this. You're right. You're right.
Why is it so easy to hold Trayvon accountable for his death, but not to hold Zimmerman accountable?
I'm not holding Trayvon accountable for his death. I'm telling you that based on the evidence, it's that Trayvon was on top beating up George Zimmerman. Now, let me just say something. You're right. If George Zimmerman had no gun, he might be dead today. And if George Zimmerman never got out of his car, let me finish, then you could talk. If George Zimmerman never got out of his car, none of this would have happened if he never called 911. But also, if Trayvon Martin, who knew someone was looking at him, and if he was a scared child, as the prosecution said in the closing rebuttal, he had 4 minutes to run a short distance home. He chose not to. Now, you could weigh in.
So I just want to know, who's responsible for Trayvon Martin's death? Is it Trayvon Martin?
Well, sir, the fact that you're asking that question is more than reasonable doubt, which a jury then is obligated to find not guilty.
No, I can tell you, Steve, I know a lot of people who are in prison right now.
Sir, I'm not talking about other people in prison. I'm talking about this trial who you said was found not guilty by a racist jury.
You can't talk about something that happened in the system and then not talk about it.
Sir, I could talk about this one case, and you said it was you said this jury was racist. You said this jury was racist. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Well, then we're talking about this case. Where is the evidence?
If Trayvon had been a white kid, he wouldn't be dead right now.
Doc, I appreciate the give and take and the back and forth. I really do, and I hope we part as friends.
Absolutely. We are certainly friends.
All right. Thank you, Doc.